It seems tense Oval Office meetings with US President Donald Trump are increasingly becoming the new normal for world leaders, especially those where they get publicly berated, and not to forget the use of provocative media. Now, yesterday, Donald Trump confronted South African President Cyril Ramaphosa with what he claimed was evidence of a quote-unquote white genocide in South Africa. It even was supported with the dimming of lights and a video of white farmers. Ramaphosa, quite naturally, was visibly uncomfortable but remained composed. And he firmly denied these claims. He said that these claims do not reflect South African government's policy and that most crime victims in the country are, in fact, no surprises, black. The meeting, which was meant to reset US and South African relations and were expected to focus on trade, they instead reminded watchers across the globe of a similar confrontational exchange with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, it's yet another example of Trump's unconventional and provocative use of the Oval Office. That's what critics say. But what's aiding that? And are world leaders ready for this new engineered Oval offensive? We decode that with a special panel of guests who's joining us this evening. But first, a quick look at that exchange that went on between Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa.
I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But, Mr. President, I must say that we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it.
Sure.
And we have documentaries, we have news stories, and that. Is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things, and it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would, and turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. You can do whatever you want to do.
And those cars aren't driving. They're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. Those people were all killed.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. But, okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa. Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. Horrible death. Death. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what it is. And I have other friends in South Africa, I have people that left, one in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land, they take your land, and they kill you. And we're going to talk about it, but this is a tremendous, look, this is a story recent. Yeah. These are all people that recently got killed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it can get any worse.
Let me clarify that, because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can take land.
And then when they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
And let's take that up now with Sohail Seth, who's the managing partner at Council Edge India, and Dr. Vivek Mishra, the deputy director at Strategic Studies Program at ORF. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening on India Tonight. To you first, Mr. Seth. I mean, the dimming of lights, those, theatrics, would you call it the mask effect, or maybe brand Trump was always about this, but now it's just now that it's gotten 10x of all that existed 4 years back?
So to be honest, Donald Trump is a shame on America. He's a shame on the American presidency. He's a blot on human behavior. I can't understand how this man got into office. It says a lot about the American people. He's an embarrassment in every which way. You know, the clip that you were showing, he ended that clip by calling a journalist a jerk. Now, this is the kind of man who inhabits the Oval Office. People like Ramaphosa or before that Zelensky, they should give it back. If he uses the media to shame them, they should use the same media to shame him. But the truth is, no one has the courage because they believe that America is so powerful. Essentially, Donald Trump is a bully, and a bully is actually a coward. When you bully a bully back, he retreats and withdraws. I mean, I cannot understand how people subject themselves to this enduring and continuing embarrassment at the hands of this absolute shame of a president that America today has. I mean, I'm sitting here in New York. You should see the way people talk about him in New York, which he used to inhabit, actually Queens within New York. I mean, it is disastrous and an absolute disgrace. Look at the way he spoke about Biden. Look at the way he speaks about everyone. This man is unhinged. He has no filter. And he believes he can run amok. He is absolutely corrupt, both mentally and otherwise. Look at what's happened with the gift from Qatar. These are the same people he abused in the last term, accused them of harboring terrorists and terrorism. And today this man, so basically, let me tell you, Donald Trump is running Donald Trump. He's not running America. Donald Trump doesn't give a monkey's toss about the American people, about American values, and about America's hegemony. Donald Trump is only about himself and the Trump Corporation. When narcissists like him sit in the White House, you can expect 3 years of turbulence, 3 years of backing and forthing, and 3 years of flip-flops. Absolute shame of a man. But there's nothing we can do. We just have to tolerate this joker for as long as he's there and then hope for the best.
Absolutely, Mr. Seth. And, these takedowns are extremely unbecoming of a leader, very, very unstatesmanlike. So, Dr. Mishra, what are these theatrics actually helping Donald Trump achieve?
I mean, clearly, he's, as was laid down, he's clearly a bully, and he's actually achieved some of the geopolitical successes. For example, he has forced just Zelensky to do whatever he wills, to go to the Vatican, talk to him, agree to a mineral deal, but on his own terms. Now, for a country like Ukraine, which is on a spot geopolitically, I think there are little options in terms of where the leader can go. But to the extent that I think the Europeans are standing with Ukraine, and if that support takes shape over time, then I think there is a course, and then there is a way in which you can stand up to the transatlantic bully. So I think it will take its time. I think meanwhile you have just 3.5 years of Donald Trump, because I don't see in the Republican Party any other leader who will take at least this shape. The closest that comes is J.D. Vance, but I think he's more party-oriented than MAGA-oriented. So I think there's that sort of goodwill to take from this course.
Right, and when you mentioned J.D. Vance, well, he's also playing to the gallery. He's also trying to become to become part of that narrative, that setup that Donald Trump usually makes. And we'll come to that point in just a bit. But But when you mentioned, Dr. Mishra, you mentioned about the fact that, Zelensky gave in and he's actually been doing what Donald Trump tries to make him do. But that's because, Donald Trump's bullying is reserved only perhaps for vulnerable countries. Because when you see with China, he was tom-tomming about, striking a deal with China and China being desperate. But the reality is that the US cannot really survive without China's manufacturing support. Walmart's empty shelves did reflect that. And of course, the US ended up giving a 30% concession for that bilateral trade deal. So, Mr. Seth, are Donald Trump's theatrics reserved only for those countries that are seemingly vulnerable?
So here's the deal, and I hate to admit it, but I will on your program. I did do some work with him in 2019, officially, professionally on the campaign. Let me tell you a few traits about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not catering to you, me, or Vivek Mishra. He's catering to middle America white supremacists. His whole thing about white farmers being killed was in order to placate, to appease the white supremacists of middle America. He doesn't give a toss. Let's see and examine, Sumita, the damage he has caused in the last 3 months. Number one, universities today across America are in budgetary decline. You saw what he did with Harvard. Number two, the courts are compromised. Number three, look at what he's done with deportees of people who are aliens in his mind. No law has been followed, no due process has been followed. Number four, he is doing deals with Qatar, with the UAE, but what's worse is he's now recognizing and legitimizing Syria, which was accused of harboring and creating terror. Look at his angle and angularity. He is a deal maker. This is a real estate agent oblique construction magnate who has got into the Oval Office. Look at the insensitivity of this absolute rascal when he said that I will create the Trump Riviera in Gaza. He has no concern for humanity. He doesn't give a damn about due process. Look at the manner in which healthcare has been compromised in America. There are hospitals that are shutting down. He has used a word which is not his own called equalizing, where he talks about tariffs qua drugs and medicines, again lying through his teeth. I'm unable to understand how this man will continue to hold the American flag, the American dream, and the American hegemony if he behaves in this errant, devious, and despicable manner. I mean, this is not a man you should have in any office, forget the Oval. But they're stuck. They don't know what to do. People are now talking about the 25th Amendment in America, which means how does the vice president take over? The vice president is an equal rascal. You saw how Vance treated Zelensky in the Oval Office. My point, Sumita, is I'm glad that in India we are following some decorum with this rogue. He took credit for a ceasefire which he had no involvement in. He continues to talk rubbish. There is no fact-checking. When there is fact-checking, he says, oh, you people are fake news. Yesterday at the same Ramaphosa briefing in the Oval Office, he pointed out ABC, CBS, and NBC. All of you are fake news. I mean, this is the man you've elected to be president of the United States. It's an absolute disgrace.
Absolutely.
But as I said, geopolitically, and I don't agree with Vivek Mishra.
But Mr. Seth,
that, geopolitically he's done this, he's done that. We'll wait and see. He is a flip-flopper. He's a balloon floater. Let's see if the Israel-Gaza standoff ends. Let's see if the Russia-Ukraine standoff ends. Then we will talk. Then we'll say he's a deal maker. And mark my words today, Sumita, this man will do everything he can to actually even aim for the Nobel Peace Prize, saying, oh, I brought peace between India and Pakistan and Israel and Gaza. He's that kind of a rogue. Look at the man. Pope Francis dies a day before.
And Mr. Seth, he's been exposed. He's been exposed, especially as far as, the India-Pakistan understanding is concerned, because India has reiterated over and over again that the DGMO call that actually came in from Pakistan was way before actually Donald Trump was anywhere in the picture. It came in at about 1 p.m. So that has been exposed. The big question, however, since you talk about his MAGA voter base and you're in the United States currently, are they buying his spiel, given the fact that at least the outcomes with respect to his claims have been very few?
They are not, but they can't do anything. You see, the American presidency is in such a stranglehold. Look at the way the Justice Department works. He's got Pam Bondi as the head of the DOJ. Her former job was a foreign agent, declared foreign agent for Qatar. Qatar has spent $1.4 million in the last 2 years on lobbying in Washington, D.C. This is the reality of this man. He is now going after the Senate and the Congress saying, oh, this is not a gift to me, it's a gift to the US Air Force, it'll go to the Department of Defense, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this man will sell his soul for a plane, which is why I loved Ramaphosa's comment that I don't have a plane to gift you. But if this is the kind of grifter that this rogue is, we are in for turbulent times. People in the US are either disgusted or have given up because they know they'll have another 3.5 years of tolerance to exude for a man of this despicable disorder.
Absolutely, and which is why the Donald Trump administration perhaps is seemingly becoming very, very desperate when it comes to stealing claims with respect to what other countries are doing, and instead they should focus on, the outcomes that they can actually achieve and what is achievable. But Mr. Mishra, let me talk to you from a foreign policy point of view. Would it be right to say that these theatrics could perhaps be seen in light of the strategic use of the Madman Theory in international relations, which actually Nixon practiced to let other countries avoid from, provoking the United States and perhaps coerce them into bargaining?
I mean, there's definitely parallels being drawn, and there have been substantial writings done on that line that, the Madman Theory. But I do think that the point that earlier I was trying to make is that he has the ability, and because he has inherited a very strong economy in the United States, he's actually had the privilege of or the power of and the position to force other countries do what they want, and it also comes from other countries' disadvantage that he has put those countries in certain spots. But I don't think these changes may be very structural, because I do think that the 3 years, I mean, the next year, the midterms will be very crucial to see where, and already you see some of the polls tanking down for Donald Trump administration. So it'll be interesting if some of the changes that he has actually imposed on the international system continue post even the midterms, let alone after his term. So I do think that there are parallels drawn from history about the Madman Theory, but this has also has already had a share of criticism. There are nations that have given him back. For example, Macron dealt with him completely and fact-checked him in the Oval Office. There's India, the example of India, where I think foreign minister has consistently drawn the line between how the ceasefire was conducted as opposed to how Trump claims it was. So I think it is through those means that we actually fact-check and draw clear lines between what happened and what Donald Trump says to stay ahead of him.
Absolutely, and it's very important to sort of call him out on the fake news that he is peddling. But Mr. Seth, outrage aside, you're also talking of the electorate in the United States. But is there a method to Donald Trump's madness, and is this behavior tenable before actually his electorate starts calling him out?
They won't call him out, Sumita. They are genuinely dumb people. Middle America is white supremacists, and these people are dumb. They are desperate for identity. These are the jokers who still believe in racism. These are the jokers who still believe in the idea of one America. Look at his stance against people. Look at what before even he took over, he started calling Justin Trudeau governor. I mean, Justin Trudeau's a class idiot, but that's another matter. Point I'm making, Sumita, is this man came and won the election for two reasons. Number one, a failed assassination attempt. Number two, because Biden was so weak. By the way, thanks to you, Sumita, and through you, I'm telling all your viewers to read a book called Original Sin, which has just come out day before yesterday in America. It's by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson on Biden's presidency. So you had a failed president in Biden. Then you had this guy. This guy's agenda was make America great again. What is he doing? Look at the way he threatened Tim Cook, saying, "Oh, I've told Tim Cook not to manufacture in India." Do you know something, Sumita? If the iPhone starts getting manufactured in America, which will never happen, the effective cost will be anywhere between $9,000 to $10,000 a phone. But these Johnnies don't know how to turn a screw. So, what are we saying? We are talking about trade deals which are camouflaged as deals which
Absolutely.
benefit the Trump Corporation. We are talking about bullying tactics which he believes defines geopolitics.
Right.
And we are talking about an unhinged president who claims he's doing everything to make America great again. He's making America crazy again. It's not MAGA, it's MACA. I mean, MACA. So, point I'm making is this is the kind of man you have in office. You know, this is my sixth trip to New York this year, and everyone tells me, oh, you mustn't say nasty things about Trump, you'll be deported and all that stuff. These are Americans telling me. Look at the concept of fear. Look at the concept of disgust that they have with this man. Melania Trump has spent only 11 days in the White House since the inaugural. The wife hates him. That's the kind of person. Look at what Elon Musk did.
Right.
These are raw, unhinged
Absolutely.
people. Do you ever have a man of Elon Musk's, so-called achievement
Absolutely.
actually walk in on stage with a chainsaw?
Right.
Doge is a disaster.
Right.
US aid
Right.
is a disaster. Bill Gates talked about
Right.
it. So people are saying this,
Right.
but no one can do anything. He has withdrawn funding from Harvard.
And
He's
not to
withdrawn
mention
funding
what's
from
happening with
Princeton.
the American economy, Mr. Seth. I mean, in fact, right.
He's having a run-in
And not
with
to mention
Powell
what's happening
of the
with
Fed.
the American economy, you have all the three agencies actually downgrading. Yes, he is in fact looking at firing Jerome Powell as well. But Mr. Mishra, what are the potential long-term implications of this spectacle-driven diplomacy on the United States as a country, and in terms of how some nations perhaps could look at tilting to other global powers like China, for instance?
Look at Chinese diplomacy, and if you look at the global South diplomacy, there's already a scramble in terms of what they want to do between themselves. He has tried to threaten Europe not to tilt too much towards China, but Europe has already signaled that they will revisit, except some countries, for instance, Italy, which finds itself more closely intertwined with America. But I think broadly, you already are seeing, countries are left with little options. For example, in rare earth minerals, China controls most of the supply chains, as well as about 40 to 60% of the reserves, and the ability to mine them. So I think, and go to Latin America, which is the United States' own backyard, China is dominant. So I think despite some of these arm twisting techniques, countries will find their own way to huddle together, and which they already are. But particularly look at the Indo-Pacific. I mean, so much, the entire American narrative waxed eloquence about the Indo-Pacific construct, and then suddenly here comes Trump. It's all in disarray. And we are not able to figure out when and how this Indo-Pacific rules-based order will hold, and how much will America remain committed to that idea. So I think all in all, if the Quad Summit, the upcoming Quad Summit in September goes on well, and we have a trade deal with America where, unlike America, and for all Trump's claims that India has agreed to zero tariff, I have my own skepticism, because I don't think there are certain sectors where we'll agree for zero tariffs. So I think if the chips fall where they may, by September we'll have a clearer picture in terms of what his promises mean in this part of the world, especially the Indo-Pacific, and in terms of supply chains, where how countries align themselves in Southeast Asia and in the broader Indo-Pacific.
Absolutely, Dr. Mishra, and India has reiterated over and over again, and in fact, in the past few days itself, the External Affairs Ministry has also stated that India is only looking at a mutually beneficial bilateral trade agreement like the one that we signed with UK a couple of days back. And of course, we are also looking at our own individual partners as well in order to avoid being bullied by any one particular power. But Mr. Seth, do you anticipate a pushback by countries now? For instance, what China did, for example, it called the United States a big economic bully. Donald Trump was stating that, China was desperate for a deal, but in the end, what actually happened was that the US had to take a larger cut. What is the action that you anticipate by these countries now? Will they accept this as a new normal, or do you anticipate a pushback?
There is 100% going to be a pushback. And there already is. Read, I think 4 or 5 issues ago, read The Economist, which said geopolitical realignment and recalibration has happened. Why? Because people are upset with this joker. And that's going to happen. You can't expect anything else. So my point, Sumita, is that this is the way this man is. He's totally unhinged.
Right. Absolutely. And how do you weigh in on that, Dr. Mishra? What kind of, a pushback do you anticipate from all of these countries, given the fact that, the US still is the biggest superpower in the world, but you do have geopolitical shifts happening. So what do you really anticipate in terms of a possible pushback by countries?
I mean, there are various examples to start with. On the economic front, you have China staring America down. Now they're, and also because of the amount of dollar reserves that China has. On the geopolitical front, you have Iran sticking its ground and saying that we will not agree to a zero enrichment policy, which has been Witkoff's and Trump's pressure points on Iran. I don't think Iran will agree to a zero enrichment, and that is going down a very dangerous path, that negotiation. The entire agenda of Trump and his Middle East trip to 3 countries was to strike the economic gain that he touted a 1.3 trillion investments from that region to America. While that may be one bit, but I think on the other front, you have the Iran question completely out of America's ambit. As I said, in Latin America, again, countries like Venezuela are huddling together with Iran and Bolivia and China, and China's own footprints in countries like Peru, where it has opened a new one of the largest ports recently in Shanghai. So I think those are signals that countries which increasingly don't find aligned themselves, increasingly in the time of Donald Trump, will try to huddle together and carve out a strategy for themselves.
Absolutely, Dr. Mishra. Well, on that note, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.